Hello everybody, happy Friday. Today we are doing something we've never done before. This is usually something I do in my own free time, so we're gonna see how this goes. Bum, bum, bum. You can see today I have my storyboarding overlay on, which means we're studying storyboards. Shout out to my brother Joe, he gave me this for my birthday and it is the Howls Moving Castle. I think you wouldn't call it an art book, but it has like all the storyboard frames. Oh, look at that. It is absolutely amazing, and I've been meaning to do some studies from this. So we're gonna do some like thumbnail studies, like really loose ones. What we're gonna be worrying more about is like camera placement slash like framing of characters. That's kind of what we're going to be focusing on. I'm not going to be doing like perfect little sketch studies of his art style. I don't want to do that. What I want to study is like how does he have his characters, you know, move from scene to scene, from frame to frame, and kind of just like how he does his framing. So that's what we're going to do. So I think what I'm going to do is choose like a brush that's a little like a Sharpie, so I'm not allowed to get too detailed. And we're gonna this is gonna be the hardest part, is choosing a couple sequences out of this whole book that we want to study. Maybe starting in the beginning is a good place. I did like this one sequence in here where she's like climbing the staircase with that other old lady. But I don't know. There's a lot of options here. I thought it was interesting how the characters went from moving screen right to left, and then halfway through the sequence, we get moving from left to right. So it transitions, but it happens in like such a subtle, beautiful way that you don't even notice it. And I think it's like, it's a good example of how you can use your characters and like their eye direction to kind of like bounce the camera where you want it to be, or where you need it to be in like the following scene. So I do like this, but I feel like that might be a little too much for the amount of time we have today. So what I might do is just go through, choose single frames that are my favorite, and we're gonna like draw those out, and then afterwards what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up with a scene. We're gonna problem solve where we would place the camera and how we want to frame everything, and then we're gonna do in tandem while we kind of do that. I usually do it like both at the same time, but I'm going to do some like rough thumbnails of how the scene might look if I was storyboarding it. So that's what we're gonna do, guys. I think we start at the beginning. Ideally I would have another camera so you guys could see my book I was looking at, but I don't have that set up for today. So I'll need you to, I'll show you the shot and then I'll start drawing it, but you guys won't be able to, you won't be able to see it while the reference while I'm drawing it. Should we go with the opening? I'm like opening shot where the castle comes in. Do you like that one? That might be a good simple way to start. I haven't done any proper... Did I do that yet today? I'm trying to remember if I did any proper warm-ups. Also, this template was given to me when I took the storyboard art mentorship. You can see their website down the bottom left corner. If you want to get into storyboarding, I recommend checking them out. Base Cat, hello! How you doing? Alright. Let me choose a good... Good. I think I have some marker type brushes. Let's use some of those. Where did I put those? Here we go. This is one of the ones. Oh, that's not quite what I want. Well, I gotta turn on my keypad. Remember when we were testing brushes yesterday? I ran into that one and I was like, that is the brush I want. Or didn't want, actually. What was that under? What was it under special effects? I think you all know that at this point I have like a rabbit hole I frequently get into. Did Joe pass the jump script on to you? No, he did not. I actually haven't. We live like, well, he like lives in his shed, but we do live in the same house. But believe it or not, I don't see him as frequently as you might think. I know he has a lot of stuff going on, so when I see him, I'll try to remember to ask him about that. He probably just didn't remember. Alright, dry media. That's not it. Watercolor. I could have deleted those brushes because I didn't like them. I hope I didn't. Oh wait, art markers. Here they are. I think something like this might be nice. We'll make it smaller, of course. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, make sure you guys can see this properly. Our part is I'm working with the book in front of me. That's good, it'll keep me loose. Alright, it's like opening scene. We get like the castle coming in here. It's like our main subject. Then we get this lovely slant of the land. And then just to make it a little more interesting, we've got another house here. And then we get these lovely little clouds in here. And then a mountain comes up here. I feel like the little house here gives us a lovely sense of scale. Because if it wasn't here, it might be a little hard to tell how big it is. But since this house is in the foreground, it's telling us that, like, this house looks small. And even though it's in the foreground, like, imagine how big it's gonna be. Like, how big Howls Moving Castle is. So I think that's probably why they added it in there. Not only for the making the foreground a little more interesting. And then we get this mountain back here, which is roughly the size, like if you look at it, it's kind of like giving same size proportions as the castle. So it's like the house is so big, it's almost one of the mountains. That's at least what I think. Let me pull this. Let's do another one here. Also, I forgot to show you guys. This is the shot I just drew, the top one. Alright, I like this pan down with the train, but I don't want to draw the whole thing. Let's see, let's find another one that we can kind of pull a good study from. All the notes he has written here are all in Japanese, so I feel like extra encouraged to like keep studying because I want to be able to like understand all his notes. And I don't want to have to like, granted I could take a picture and translate it all, but who wants to do that? That's no fun. And I want to say this is all one shot. Yes, I believe it is. He breaks it down into numbers. I kind of like this. Here's what we could do. So what he does here is like his storyboards are like vertical. And when he does this pan, I believe it's a pan up. Yeah, because it starts from Sophie coming out the door. But you can see he just draws all the way through the panels to draw the whole sequence. I'm wondering if we can do something similar. Because it's really a good idea. What if we lower the opacity on this? I'm already getting like a little ambitious. I'm trying to think. How would I start? I think what he did is he did this first scene up here, right? Which kind of establishes in a little bit more detail. You can see he did more detail on this one. But Sophie's going to be coming out this door here. And it's almost like a little courtyard. And there's a tree here. And so she's coming out here. We're going to put a little stick person in there. And then for the pan up, he draws on the bottom, like the start frame. On the start frame, which make sure you guys can see this. He draws the same, pretty much the same shot, except Sophie is now closer. But the camera hasn't, as far as I can tell, moved yet. So the camera doesn't move. Sophie's going to come forward more. And then I believe the pan up starts, is what it looks like. So if I need two... Wait, I need to draw this one. I'll need 2 panels ahead of it. I'm just going to draw these in. Because I don't want to have that big of a space in between. So I think what I'm going to do is draw... Here's Sophie. We're going to make her a stick person again. This is not 100% accurate to this drawing. But roughly what's happening here. And then the tree. The courtyard. And we see the tree continue up into the second frame. And then we gotta pay attention to our perspective. This guy was so good. Oh, I made the tree too tall. And then we got a little chimney here. And then we got a roof in here. And then it looks like this is underneath. Maybe like this little walkway area makes like an L shape. And I think what we're seeing here is a bit of a board. And then there's a little airplane theme. And then the roof coming in like this. The walls. And here's this roof. Let me show you guys. Mine's not as perfectly clear, but we get... Let me hold this up. So this shot, it's a base, and it pans up, up, and then we get that top one. But this was our very start frame, and you can see it's a bit more detailed than this one, but it doesn't look like the camera moves yet. So I think what they wanted was Sophie to come out the door about like midway on this walk area. And then I feel like the audio helped play a big piece, but I bet you could hear the planes like approaching. And then it does that pan up. I'm trying to think what this next shot is. Oh, okay, this is interesting. Instead of redrawing all of this scene, what he did, and he does this a lot, which is genius, like saves you time, and it makes sense. But these planes have like a flag, apparently, that they are... And instead, you can see the silhouette, see the chimney there? That's in this shot. That's the same, it's referencing the same shot, and that's what's supposed to happen. I'll call them helicopters, will fly over and they'll have the flag with it, but he's not going to redraw all the building. Like, he already established that's what's going to be there. But he's that nice little, like, silhouette, which is kind of showing us how lovely that framing is. We get, like, a little window up into the sky. Very, very clever. I feel like there's a lot of, like, time-saving elements you can kind of pull when you look through these boards. Like, not every shot needs to have everything rendered. And back when they were doing this, like, all by hand, like, digitally, I could just keep the same background layer. Like, I don't have to keep redrawing it. But they didn't have that option then. So you could see where, you know, you cut corners when it doesn't matter because you've already established what the background's going to be. But you still want to convey that movement. So, yeah, very, very interesting. All right, Shelby goes through town. I believe this is when she first runs into Hal. Yes. What? I want to draw one of these. Let me take a look here. I actually haven't watched this in probably a year or two. I really need to watch it again. I almost want to watch it just while like flipping through the book at the same time. Like just seeing like the frames from like, the rough sketches into this. I just think it's really interesting. Okay. I feel like the downward shot where it looks like this is such a cool perspective. I'll try and show you guys. Wait, I think that's the shot I'm looking for. No, wait, it's not that one. There we go. See where it's like their feet and it's looking down the town? I think that one's really cool. I feel like this is like such an iconic scene from the movie. But should I draw? It's crazy how like busy some of these shots are. But if you really look in, they're simple, but he's so good at just like indicating. Let's see if I can show you guys like this shot. I'm hoping these kind of come through clear enough. Like all the little faces, absolutely incredible. I really, really recommend this book. Let's move a little more forward in the story now. Oh, this is when the witch shows up. And here's when she wakes up. I feel like Sophie handled this so well. I don't think I would have handled it as well. Oh, so wait, the witch turns her old. I forgot. She doesn't wake up just old. Do, 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 do. I absolutely love the expressions. I do want to do a study session where all we do is study the faces. Because I feel like I really like how he just quickly indicates their expressions. It's like so simple, but it's so effective. Shot 28, 29. I want to choose a sequence that's a little bit longer. I feel like I'm a little indecisive here. Maybe do the shot where like now she's walking up the mountain. Here she meets Turnip Head. Let's do this one. Hold on, let me grab. Just gonna stick it here. I don't need to zoom in that much. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Let's do... We're gonna do this one. We're kind of like looking up at Turnip Head in this shot. See if you guys can see that properly. And then we might draw this one as well. I like these nice lines we're kind of getting here. And then we're clearly seeing like the underside of the hat. My turnip head looks a little bit more creepy. And after that shot, it goes to move my... Oh, it looks like the top of his hat is blowing off. We got little Sophie down here. So it looks like she's facing him, and then she turns away and starts walking screen left. And here he again, like he doesn't draw in the background again. Like we know it's the same shot because it's numbered that way. And he just draws Sophie turning. And he gives like these little lines, I think, to indicate. It could be the wind, because I know the wind was a big element here. Or maybe it could just be that she's like plunking off down that direction. Okay, and then it cuts to... Alright, I guess we probably shouldn't have drawn this out. I'm gonna delete this. There's a lot of arrows, I believe, indicating the wind, but we're getting, again, Sophie moving. Screen right. Screen left. And it's big clouds. And we're getting, there's a lot of lines showing the grass, and it's just like a lot of movement in the line work he uses, kind of like showing the wind. And then she's got her little shawl that's flapping in the wind. And then in the next shot, he doesn't draw the background. You just see Sophie further up. She's about center screen now. And then we cut to the next scene, which is more facing on front of Sophie. And then it comes down. Looks like we cut it again. And then again. Get to there. Okay, so it looks like this is shot 56, 156. We're getting Sophie walking from the front, and we see the city down here. So she's getting some altitude. The rocks. The next shot looks like she's looking to the left. And he doesn't draw in the background again, because it's the same shot. And then, make sure you guys can see this. Okay. I'm really wishing I could read Japanese at this moment. I wish I could read his notes for this shot. It looks like there's arrows pointing. So this is a new shot. We get her hat. And she's looking kind of down this way. Over her shoulder. We get the clouds in the background. And then there's an arrow coming like this. All right, she's turning back, looking at the next sequences. She's watching, and somebody's following her still. Who could it be? It's Turnip Head. So then we get... Now, I don't know, because I didn't pay that much attention during the movie. But I wish I could figure out... I think she looks back and then turns away. Or does she look back and then it cuts? I feel like I kind of want to pull up the movie and see what they did there. So they have these little like swirly bounce lines for Turnip Head as he's bouncing his way up here. And we get this lovely little path. And then it continues down here. Studio Ghibli does the most beautiful like landscape and stuff. I'm just gonna draw some perspective lines just to help us a little. So after that shot, we get Turnip Head coming like up this direction, which I could probably indicate a little bit better. The smaller. They do kind of like jump, jump, arrow type things. All right, so following that scene, Sophie's looking back again. We're gonna have to watch the movie, guys. Sophie. I think she shouts something to him. If I'm reading that kanji right. I have a hard enough time reading Japanese without it being like somebody's handwriting, so I'm still... And I don't recognize all the kanji, so... Alright, but anyway, we get Sophie here. It kind of looks like she's doing something with her hand, maybe. I think if I could read the context, it might be helpful. But you see her dress blowing. Alright, what time are we, guys? I want to make sure I have enough time that when I do that practice session later, where I try and board out a shot with you guys, that I have enough time. So she's looking back. It's 59. Then it cuts to another shot. So now we're gonna get... I think in this shot, I'm pretty certain she turns about and she shouts something. Maybe she's like, stop following me. I don't know. I can't remember. But in this next shot, we get the landscape like this. We get Turnip Head down here. Path, and then we get Sophie's cute little hat. And her little shawl blown in the wind. It's got a little bow on it. So we got like, it's like an over the shoulder type shot here. Let's see what happens in this. I don't know if she's talking to him or what, but there is another frame to this shot that looks almost the same. But I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, so we're gonna skip that one and we're gonna go in the next one that would follow that shot, and then we have here is the pathway up the mountain, and we get Sophie here. Wind blowing, she's holding on for dear life. All right, there we go. Get some more rocks up here. And in the next shot, she turns around and she starts walking up the path. And then looks like, let's finish this sequence up because I'm curious. All right, this is shot 162. We're gonna go back to, make sure you guys can see this properly. Back to Turnip Head. And we have the path. And his little suit. Alright, so here's what's happening. He's gonna jump forward, but he's gonna come more like screen right. And then in the following shot, his arms up here, and his head's kind of like bouncing up. We're kind of like, if I remember right, when the way he moves is he kind of like has to lean forward and like pogo stick, bounce his way. So he starts coming around like this. And then in the following shot, all we see is his coattail and then the little stick he's on. I drew mine a little too mid-screen, but it's about like this. And then that ends that shot. And it's showing Sophie again. Alright, looks like this is all one shot. We have a little foreground. I think these are clouds we're seeing in the background. Yes, I think they are. So like here's rocks. And then we get Sophie here. Making her way. I'm pretty sure these are clouds. There's an arrow pointing this way. And I want to say that's for like the way the clouds are supposed to be blowing. And again, all the grass is kind of like going this direction. And then in the following shot, we just have Sophie like moving. Like this third one. Let me show you guys which one I'm looking at here. Okay, so top is the one I was just drawing. Like this one here. And then we just get another frame, which is Sophie still moving forward. And then we can see coming in from the side is Turnip Head, and it looks like he might pass her. Nope, looks like he stops to... Well, I don't think he can talk, but he stops to... I want to say talk with her. Alright, so we're going to skip that mid-scene, and we're just going to put Sophie. He comes in about here. Bouncing on up the hill. They give him this little arrow. And then they do this. To kind of show the line he jumps from. And by that time, Sophie's about here. Alright, we're out of panels. So we gotta go back to the top. Let's just see what happens in that next shot. Alright, it cuts to Sophie. And she's looking. Let me sure to show you guys. This is not the right page. It goes to this shot then. But I think what we should do is start working on... Because I want to make sure we have enough time. I want to start working on thumbnailing like a little practice sequence. Like put this back in its case. Once I get better at reading Japanese though, guys, we're gonna be able to read the notes, which will be amazing. I feel like it'd be really interesting to read his notes. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. I gotta come up with an idea. I'm gonna map out the actions for the scene, and then I'm gonna try and like rough thumbnail board it out. So the hardest part is gonna be coming up with the idea. Something that will be short, but not too complicated. Because I started having ideas where I was like, oh, I could board this sequence from like a personal experience I have. But then I was like, that could be a lot, because it's like a story of like when I went out to like go do like the barn work because I was taking care of my mom's animals again. And I was also watching the dog, and I didn't realize that there was a delivery person here. And they were very scared of dogs. And long story short, Annabelle ended up chasing them. I felt absolutely terrible. But it was a little bit comical at the same time. Certainly not for the poor delivery person. But yeah, I was like, that could have been like a funny thing to try and board out. Kind of like make a little comedy shot. But I think it might be a little too long of a sequence. So I'm like, maybe we should do something shorter. So I don't know, I gotta think of something. And it doesn't have to be with people either. I like drawing ducks. So we could do a little duck story. Because I did a storyboard before with a duck and a cow. So there's always that. I don't know. Give me a second, guys. I gotta think of something. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. I feel like I do good brainstorming when I'm like not staring at my desk. I'm gonna go get a cup of tea, and I have to figure out what I'm gonna do in that time. I'm gonna get a cup of tea, and then when I come back, we're gonna do it. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, guys, I will be right back. I'm gonna get a cup of tea, and then we're gonna start, and I'll let you guys know whatever I think of. So I'm gonna be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. I have an idea. Here's the concept. Here's the story. The story is a duck makes bread. Sounds simple, but I think it's actually going to be a lot more shots we're thinking. So it's just the process of a duck making bread. So it's going to be a little duck, and they're going to be a baker. And it's all going to take place in their kitchen. So that's kind of the setting. And the little duck is going to go from, you know, adding the flour and the water. What else goes in bread? The yeast. Yeah, so they'll mix it up, and then, you know, we'll have them, you know, kneading it as well, and then putting it in the oven. There'll also be elements of waiting. So, you know, you got to wait for the bread to rise. So there's that. So that's what we're going to do, guys. We're gonna try and make... Let me make a pure ref file for this. Also, I'm gonna turn up the music a little bit for you guys. Bum, bum, bum. Let's write down the concept. We have about... Probably less than an hour to do this, actually. Bakery duck makes bread. It's also ironic because ducks aren't really supposed to eat bread, but you know, they love it. And so in this little fantasy world, this duck gets to make their own bread. Let's see. So we got the concept up here. Also, I'm gonna Google what are all the steps to making bread. In case I'm missing some. All right, mixing flour, water, salt, and yeast, then kneading, rising, shaping, and baking. Easy enough. Let's take a screen capture of this. This will be our guide because this is what needs to happen in this shot. Also, we're gonna draw out. I like to do this. These are our Sophie shots. They put those down there. Let me name this. Howls Moving Castle Study 1. Alright, we're gonna draw out a little like top-down plan of what the bakery looks like. We're gonna keep it really simple. We're gonna just have a square room. And we're gonna put the oven, I think, back here. Maybe it's like one of those bougie, like, brick ovens. I have a meeting in an hour to discuss doing SAP, a short film, and for the Capital Film Festival's Fortnite. Oh, wow. Did that once a long time ago. Oh, very nice. Alright, so this will be like the stove, I think. And then we'll have... Let me straighten this out a little bit. I want this centered. It bothers me that it's not. Alright, there'll be like a workstation table here. This is where the magic will happen. And then there's gonna be probably a shelf here. I think this is where the supplies will all be kept. And then this will be the door out into the shop, which will be out here. But we're not gonna really have that section. And then here, this is like a big window. And the window is gonna look like this. And I think one of the doors is gonna be open. Oh, you know what? Let's make both the doors open. It's a nice day and they're letting in the fresh air. All right. And then here's our little duck for reference. His arms. We won't really see the feet. Alright, let's take a screenshot of that. I just like to have like a little roadmap of how things are gonna look. Okay. That's in there. Alright, we gotta do this somehow fast. So I think what we're gonna need is like an establishing / opening shot. And I was kind of thinking this while I was making my tea, which reminds me, I need to pull out the tea bag so it doesn't keep over steeping. I think I want like a pan in through the window. I know that's a little cliche, but what can I say? If it works, it works. So maybe we do that. You get 2 weeks to make a film, up to 10 minutes long, then give you a dialogue line, a prop, and a location type, like a body of water that you have to put in the film to keep it on. Oh, man, that sounds hard. That sounds really hard. Okay. So the bakery, let's say the bakery looks like this. The room the duck is in is gonna be shaped like this. And here's that window. And then we get a roof that comes off this way. And then here, we'll have the chimney come up. I like that. And then we'll have a little street sign for the bakery here. And we'll have a little shop window here as well. And then this could be like the street. And there could be more houses here. Further down the street. And then another house here. Maybe that's a tower or something. And I'll put a little bush here. Spruce it up a little bit. And a little bush here too. And then maybe a house closer here. And then I'll put a big tree back here. And then one peeking out here. Okay, we got our opening shot. Yeah, I tried the 36-hour contest once. Unfortunately, half my team didn't like the way I was managing it, and there was mutiny. Oh no! Yeah, that's tough. That's definitely tough. It's always tricky when you have a bunch of people who they all have their own idea of how things should be, so it's probably tough finding a group that really works together. Yeah. I could see that being very difficult. Okay, so here's our opening shot. And we're going to keep this really simple. We're going to start, let's use green. Green is going to mark, I don't know why it's not drawing. There we go. Green's marking our starting frame. And we're going to use red to mark ending shot here. And maybe we'll have, here's this little chef hat. And he's got his flower. All right, so how do we start? How do we move from that shot to that shot? So it's gonna be like our window. And now we're gonna be looking into the bakery. Let me think about this shot. He's gonna be just starting baking the bread. So here's the table we're talking about. We're kind of looking down. I got an idea. We need to add more frames. I'm sorry guys, I can't do this in 2 little frames. Maybe what we do, the window shot is about like here. So here's the arch. Here's this. Window's open. Right, and then we get the table in here. And we get the shelf here. And then we get the oven back here. And let's say there's like, I kind of like the open beam type vibe for inside. But we're just gonna draw lines to the walls here. How do brick oven stoves? I'll just say it's a big round door. Or maybe we'll make it square. Yeah, we're gonna make it square. Okay. And we're gonna have little chef duck here. And he's going to be grabbing something off this shelf. Right? And our camera is going to be moving. I need to erase this out. Because this is actually going to be our pan in. So this will be 1A, 2A, 3A. The camera comes in. Righto, and it keeps coming in. All right. The camera moves through the window. We got the table here. Again, guys, these are rough. These are not... This is feeling out the shots before we're really committed. And the shelf there with the stuff on it. Maybe some jars, whatnot. Doing the stove. And the duck's gonna turn and come towards us. I'm thinking like screen center. And they're holding flour. I think the stove probably shouldn't have made it that big. We gotta make sure our proportions stay right. Wait, I think I'm getting behind on... I'm sorry, base cap. I got so like zoned in what I was doing. Since the time was so short, I created a schedule that each time box... Oh, and then use a spreadsheet to calculate the times, and some of them didn't like being... Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, it could be some of them just weren't used to working on certain time frames, which is always difficult. All right, so the duck's gonna walk. His little chef hat. Towards us. And I want the camera to stay here. So we're gonna end that shot. Movement wise. And then let's do what Miyazaki did and just draw the bare basics for the next shot, because all I want to do is explain the movement a little bit more. So Doug sets down the flower. And they are now center, so that's gonna be 4. Okay. Okay. So the duck's gonna need a bowl to mix everything in. So I'm thinking if I was a chef duck, I think I would keep a lot of my supplies near the table that I do a lot of working on. So I think the duck's gonna pull out the bowl from underneath the table. So maybe we add in another shot. Let's do a 5A. Alright, so we got the flower sitting here. And then his little hat. And he's gonna reach. Actually, we should probably use another color for that, but gonna look down. Yeah, maybe he rests his one hand up here. He's an older baking duck, so, you know, sometimes get that back pain, you know? Ooh, I just thought what we could probably do. Let's simplify this. Maybe for our... Let's use pink for our direction, like movement lines. Alright, so he goes to look under the table. Let's see, there must be some standards for notating that these storyboards that you're using. Yeah, there are standards, but like there's from what I've noticed, there's diversity in standards. So some people won't use arrows at all, and then some people absolutely love using them. And then I see some people like to use a lot of written description. I see that a lot with commercial storyboards, but not all the time. And then some people don't do that. And then a lot of people I know with the 2D, like if you make an animatic, you don't need as many arrows because you're animating all of the movements anyway, and it's pretty much just like a rough animation from the finished one. So there are some standards. Like the arrows pointing in is usually like a zoom in. There's different ways you can draw it, but I think it's also useful, like you can use arrows, but I usually, like if I was going to be sending these to somebody, I would write in like zoom in, you know? Or maybe I don't want it to like zoom. Maybe I want like it to, I think they call it like truck in. So I could do that. But I would most likely write those in. Unless I think I would, even if I was gonna pitch it to them personally, I think I would still write it in because, you know, you can't remember everything yourself. All right. And then if it's a really complicated shot, especially with action sequences, what you can do too is draw like a little map. So like this character here and this one here, like this one is gonna move this direction and then here. And then this one's gonna run over here and, you know, grab something. And then they're gonna dive out this window, you know? So you can kind of like top down map out some of it along to go with the storyboards. if you want, but I'm not sure how many people actually do that. I think that's more if you're working with a team, but if you're like sending them to someone who doesn't understand the workflow, you're just helping them visualize something, I don't think you would send that to them. But if you were with a team, you were trying to figure it out, like a sequence, I think that might be useful. But I could be wrong. I haven't had the opportunity to work with a team yet. So I would love to know how it actually works real world. But until then, I just, you know, I try to do things in a way where I feel like it might be helpful for someone who doesn't, you know the whole plot. Okay, so I'm thinking like a POV shot of the duck reaching for the bowl from under the table here. By the way, shot numbers have the scene number followed by shot letter. You have the format correct, but you're incrementing the scene numbers instead of the shot letters. Oh, got you. It should be 1A, 1B. Yes. Thank you for calling me out on that. You are so right. I absolutely do have that wrong. I don't know what I was thinking. If you guys check my portfolio, I even have it that way. All right, let's fix this. Thank you, Basecap. My brain's not with it. Okay. Let's fix this. A, B, C. Okay. Then we're gonna get little chef ducklings down here. Not really a big deal, but I thought I would point out. Thank you. No, I'm glad you did. It's funny, like, no matter how much you do something, there's always like moments where you're like, you're gonna do it wrong. And then let's have their little hand reaching in. This hand's still up here because he's kind of like holding on to the edge. And we're gonna have the bowl. I want to have the bowl rim kind of like this. What was I using? I think I was using pink. Alright, so he grabs the bowl. And then I think it would be nice to do... Let me think about this. And then maybe bring it back. Grabs the bowl, brings it up. And then maybe we'll get like... That's the flour. And the shop door was back there. Oh, we got a tangent. All right, we got the bowl. Give him his little tail. And then the stove would be coming in this direction. Get the back wall here. Yeah, there's a little window. So he's got bowl, he's got flour. He's gonna need a lot more ingredients. but I don't want to end up drawing too many scenes of him just grabbing random stuff, which is kind of boring. Let me think about this. Okay, here's what we do. How about the little... We're gonna say the yeast is in a box. The yeast is in a box already on the table next to the little dish of salt. That's what we're gonna do, guys. That's the beauty of boarding. You can go back in time. And so we're gonna do... this same shot. Flour. I know these don't look exactly the same, but these are just the rough ideas. Ba, 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 ba. And then the duck's gonna come over here and reach. Reach for the yeast. All right, so how do we want to have him add all the ingredients? I feel like I don't want to make this too boring. I'm trying to think of like an out-of-the-box way to do this, you know? A way that's not too crazy, because we don't want to go like wild, but we also don't want it to be boring. Okay, I got an idea. We had another shot. I'm just gonna draw in the bowl. And then him pouring the yeast into the bowl. Because I feel like we need some action to happen before we can change. You know what I mean? Get a little powder coming out of there. Okay. I'm into this idea. How about we do... not an Opta addict. Joe frequently hums part of the song on stream. Yeah. I am not surprised that he does. That song is... it's pretty darn catchy though, I have to admit. And I loved her whole album. I have like one regret, and that was not buying her vinyl of that album. Absolutely loved it. It's such a good like... I like albums where like I can work and listen to, but also like sing along with, but not like take a whole bunch of mental power. And I feel like that her whole album was like such a good like karaoke album, and her vocals are so pretty. Okay, so we got the yeast in. We could cut to an over the shoulder now. Or we could do like really wonky, kind of weird shot, but it'd be like bowl POV. Which I don't hate. Actually, I absolutely love this. We got the ingredients coming down. Just put the ceiling perspective up there. And then what we have is just like the ingredients coming in one at a time. And so then the duck's gonna look up. And they're gonna reach. Over across. Maybe both hands, because they're gonna be grabbing the flour bag, which is pretty big. Alright, and then pouring in the flour. Jisoo did a song called Your Love. They did a MV in her in the rainforest near Singapore for it. It's a really beautiful. I think I'm familiar with that one. She's also a great vocalist. I mean, all the Blackpink members are pretty crazy. Okay, how do you hold flour as you dump it? I very often will like take pictures of myself doing certain poses. Flour. And maybe kind of just like powders everywhere. And the flour's in. For A. Or B. Let's see. Alright, so we got flour, yeast. Oh, then we need the salt, which I have an idea for. I kind of like the idea of this all being one shot. I'm actually a big fan of Mamamoo. Yo, let's go. I saw them in concert in Fort Worth a couple years ago. Wow. I love Kwasa. She is just like, well, I mean, I love Mamamoo, but like she's my favorite member. I just think her vocals, like, you know how in Ariel, like Ursula steals her voice? Like if I was Ursula, I wouldn't steal Ariel's voice. I'd want to steal Hwasa's voice because she's like, I don't know. She's just got the most beautiful voice. It's like when you hear her sing, you know it's her. Like absolutely love her. I think I heard that the band's getting back together because they haven't really done anything as a group in a while, if I remember right. I could be wrong. But I'm like, that would be great. Okay. So the duck's gonna... Alright, how much time do we got, guys? Not too much. We gotta hurry up. Actually, I feel like the perspective would probably be a bit more like... this. Set for D, A, B, C, D, E. And then... I'm gonna put in the salt. He's got the salt container. And then he's pinching the salt. Just sprinkles in. Yeah, I like that. And then that will end that. Yes, new album and tour. 26 cities. Wow. That would be crazy to see. Are you planning on going to one of them? Okay, so the last thing we need is water. So... Oh, we didn't plan where the sink would be. Shoot. The sink is gonna be right next to the stove. That's where it's gonna be. That's where I'm gonna put it. Alright, so that will end that shot. Probably not. Maybe if they come to Detroit or a city in Indiana or Ohio. Yeah. It's tough. I feel like it's kind of like... I was hoping BTS would do Philadelphia, but they're not. They're going like... They're doing Newark, which is outside of New York City. Which isn't like... bad, but it's a lot further than Philly for me. But like, again, they can't do everywhere. But it's tough when it's like... when it's so far. And like, I'm not about to fly to a city. Like, I don't have that kind of money. Okay, the turning away. So now we can do... What are we gonna do? We're gonna do this, guys. We're gonna introduce the sink. And the measuring cup. So the window would be here. That's the table. The bowl. And let's actually adjust this a little bit more. The chef. With his hat, which looks not fantastic, but we're gonna roll with it. The shelf. Over here. I'm trying to think how I want to draw his arms. I'm just gonna have him walk like this. Oh, the trip to Fort Worth and the tickets were pretty expensive. I bet. Yeah, I bet. Man. Alrighty. So the duck's gonna come forward to the sink. And then grab... We're just gonna see... We're not actually gonna see the duck's face during this. I want to see is them turning on the water, right? It's gonna be more about the measuring cup getting filled. Because I feel like our main focus in this is it's almost more like an ambient, like, duck makes bread type of sequence rather than like it's about the chef necessarily. You know, if we want, we can even go and add a little color. Okay. That's 4. That would make this 5. Ooh, then let's do, I've been dying to do an over the shoulder. I've been hoping to do that. Okay, but I think we do need to add one more sequence here where the water, the cup stops and then the duck. Turns about and takes it back. Like with the faucet. Guys, I haven't done this in so long. Oh my lord. You can see how rusty I am. But again, like these are not the boards you send to anybody. These are the boards that you use as a way to feel out your shot and how you want to do it. And then you clean them up and make sure the shots are telling the story you want before you send it to your client or pretty much anyone else in the pipeline. Otherwise, they're gonna be like, what the storms is going on? It's not gonna make any sense. They definitely need to be clearer. But they don't for you because it's in your head. Okay, now we're getting over shoulder shot. But how do we wanna how over the... Let's do... I really like the hat. And we're gonna see the cup of water down here. And it's our bowl. I want to move this just a little. Let me get another drink. I don't want this to be an ASMR stream for you. Like, this is not the way. Okay. So hand pouring. It's a very long arm. We're gonna have flour and whatnot. Water pouring in. Very good. I feel like this would be a good, that's 5, there's 6. All right, we've finished all these panels. So this will be 1. So we end. Oh, it's getting so dark outside. I'm just praying for a sunny day. It's been a whole week of rain and cloud. I'm like, I just need one sunny day. I need to remember that spring will come and that it's not always gonna be this way. All right, so there's salt, there's flour, there's water, there's yeast. Now the duck needs to mix it. Okay. So how do we go? How do we want to do this? Here's what I think we're gonna do. We're gonna change direction again. And there was also definitely on the table, because we're gonna go back in time, a little stand with a ladle, and there's gonna be a wooden spoon in here. Like a push paddle one. Flour. And the salt container is a little salt dish. And we're gonna see the yeast over here. How's the duck doing this with his wings? It's pretty crazy. But these ducks have adapted and they now have 3 fingers. So their wings kind of come up like this. And then we get this main finger and this one. And then we get like a thumb in here. And now they can even high five. It's a specially designed duck for baking. They're a very rare breed. I call them silly ducks, but they're capable of some pretty crazy stuff. Before the silly ducks, I originally didn't have ducks with fingers. They didn't have arms at all. Like if you look at my, I have some Christmas ducks that I printed out. A high 3, yes, that's exactly it. It's one of their specialty things, you know, when they're super excited. All right, so the duck's pouring the water in here, right? 7. We got the water. The water's gonna be coming into here, and then we're gonna cheat. I'm gonna copy this layer. And then the duck's going to come over and we're gonna get a little pan up. If the duck comes this way and reaches for this wooden spoon. And make the bill a little smaller. And then they're gonna grab the wooden spoon. And then what do we want to do? All right, let me think. Do we have them grab the wooden spoon and then go back? Or do we cut? Do we cut the shot? And do like just a front on of him stirring? I don't know. There's multiple ways we could do this. We could also okay, I think what we're gonna do, let me copy this. We're gonna have a third frame. And then when it follows the duck back, it's gonna pan. It's gonna pan down. So it pans up as he comes closer. And then back down as he brings the ladle back. And then a little hand. Hold up. Give me right-handed, so we'll be on that side. Maybe we'll get a little like the back of the head. We go on a date with a duck to see if I can get down there. Yes. Yes, he does. That's a pretty good, that's a good duck pun. Alright, so here he starts stirring away. He's got his one hand rested Oh, you know what? He'd probably be holding the bowl. Because it would be moving. Also, wouldn't mind if, like, here's how this shot I think should work, guys. Let me merge these layers so I can select it all at once. Here's what we do. So, like, this shot. It's more like that. And so we get a pan up and a pan over. So he like, glad I quacked you up. Not the duck pines, no. And then the camera would move back. Okay, let me move this though. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what the camera's gonna do. Cut this way. This way. Alright, so the camera is gonna start here, right? And then we would add more frames in the finished one. He's gonna finish dumping the water. He's gonna look up. Looking up towards the spoon. When he does that, the camera is going to pan up and over just so slightly to the spoon as the duck walks forward, grabs it, and then the camera is gonna pan back down and over as he starts mixing once he heads back to the bowl. That's what's gonna happen, guys. Now I feel like we should do, I think we're just gonna show the bowl, like center screen, and then the spoon in there, and the dough getting all mixed up. How would a 3-fingered duck hold the spoon? Like this. A little bit backhanded, I think. Because you're supposed to use your whole arm, not just your wrist, otherwise you end up getting carpal tunnel, which is not good. And then this thumb is gonna hold over the edge of the bowl. Yeah, I like this. We're kind of getting like duck POV. And we're gonna add very vigorous mixing motions. And maybe we'll have some flour and water blowout. All right, guys. Let's take a look at the first one. I'm gonna put these into our Pura file so we can see them all together. I can't go that much longer because I have to go put the real ducks to bed. Let me show you these all together though. All right, so we get our establishing shot. We get a lovely little pan in to this bakery. I'm thinking like a cute little like medieval duck town. I gotta wait, I can't save this yet. It's such a habit to save. We get a pan in to the open window. And what do we have in here? We have a little duck baking. The duck is going to be grabbing something off the shelf, and they're gonna move from screen right, a little bit screen left, which I need to adjust here. And then they're gonna walk forward, and then be about center. They're gonna place the flour bag down, and then they're going to go and reach underneath the like workstation they're at. And then we're gonna get this little like POV of the bowl that they're going to be grabbing as the duck looks down and then reaches under and grabs it and pulls it back out. Then we're getting like 3/4 kind of framing here as the duck puts the bowl onto the table and reaches and grabs the yeast. The duck puts the yeast in, and then we're getting like a bowl POV looking up at the duck. So we get the yeast, and then the duck reaches again, and we get the flour, and reach again, and they get the salt, and he does a little pinch as the salt drops in, and then we see the duck turns away, which cuts to the next shot, which is going behind because the duck turns away. And then we see the sink. The duck approaches and grabs this glass over here, the measuring cup, fills with water, and then turns around and heads back to the table. Then I decided to do a like over the shoulder down shot as the duck takes the water, brings over to the bowl and dumps it in. And then we cut to another shot. The duck is still dumping the water. And we get a little duck finishes. This is what would happen if I had drawn all these frames, which I would do if I'd made an animatic out of this. I'd have to be a little bit more selective if I was just going to keep it as a still storyboard. But these are just the roughs. So I'm kind of describing what I'm going to do in the future if I were to continue this. So the duck would put the water down, and then the camera is going to pan up slightly and to the right as we reveal the wooden spoon, which is going to be conveniently sticking out more than the other cooking utensils. The duck's going to grab it and then move back to the bowl, and the camera's going to follow and come down. And then we're going to cut to a new shot where we get a down shot of all the ingredients in the bowl, and the duck starts like stirring crazy, and we're going to have some like dough splatting out and all that cooking goodness. So we could continue this on another day because it's getting dark and I want to make sure that a fox does not eat our real ducks. But I think we got a cute little story going. The next part would be kneading the dough, and then he's got to let it rise and then baking it. So maybe next week we work on this. I would love to continue doing this. This is actually really cute. And eventually we can make it into an animatic if we really like it. Granted, there's always room for change, like, especially in the rough stage, like these drawings are not precious little drawings. Like they're meant to be changed. They're very loose. I'm just feeling out the story as we go along. But I think we got something here. It's kind of cute. And I like any of the stories with the ducks, so. But guys, it was fun. I will be catching you all next week. Everybody, I hope you have a nice weekend, and thank you for tuning in. Space Cat, it was good seeing you again. Everybody, until next time, keep on creating.